Welcome back. This time, let's talk a bit of politics here. We're going to Osun State after months of tussle between Mr. Adegboyega Oyetola of the APC and PDP's governorship candidate Ademola Adeleke in the September 2018 Osun State election, and who was duly elected as governor of the state. The Supreme Court finally gave its verdict, declaring Mr. Oyetola as the winner of that election. Now, the challenge now is how to make Osun competitive in terms of IGR, in terms of governance. Now, you heard in his speech after the court ruling, Mr. Oyetola said he's stretching out the olive branch to all political parties to come together and help him move Osun State forward.
And instructively, Mr. Adeleke congratulated him.
Accepted
That's
this.
Unprecedented.
Very, very unprecedented. But we have to help us look at all of this in the studio. John Oloyede, who's a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Biodun Shomi, social commentator. Thank you for coming.
Social practitioner.
Good morning. Thank you.
Legal practitioner. Mr. Oloyede.
Yes.
So I will not let you start the conversation on the way forward. But let's, if you can, if you're allowed to, is there something that the Supreme Court missed out in that ruling? It was a final thing. I mean, they went by the law. The law says if the panel is not properly constituted, whatever it is they do is a nullity.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Is there something that was missed out? Because it was a minority report.
Yeah. Well, for me, the bottom line would have remained the same. There is nothing else. There's no way the Supreme Court could have ruled otherwise, other than to nullify the decision of the tribunal and affirm the decision of the Court of Appeal, because it is the state of the law that once a panel, a judicial panel, is not properly constituted, whatever decision you take becomes a nullity. I mean, we have it in the authorities that you cannot place something on nothing. So, to that end, if indeed a member of the panel was not present at some point in time, especially on the day when the most important witnesses were called, the issue is not really that he was present, there was an issue, but then he did not sign. So presumably, the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, took the position that if you didn't sign, it means you were not there, especially because the defendant, the governor now, is saying, look, he was not part of the panel. You cannot be part of the decision-making panel when you did not observe the witnesses. So having said that, what has been missed, what is missing in this decision is this. You see, when technical decisions, when decisions are based on technicalities, you see, there'll be a lot of persons out there who feel, oh, this is not right, there are still some things missing. What I would have expected the Supreme Court to have done, especially given the volatility of the situation and the fact that an opportunity like this may never present itself, given the kind of facts we have, rerun, whether there should be rerun or there should be no rerun. What the Supreme Court ought to have done is, even after saying, look, it's a nullity, there's no way we can bring this back. If the panel was not properly constituted, then there should not have been a decision like that. What the Supreme Court should have done is, you see, we have a locus classicus on what we call promissory estoppel, I3's case. There's a law Denning that most lawyers talk about a lot. You see, that I3's case was about some substantive issues, and then there was a technical thing to be done. And after Lord Denning ruled that, look, this case, on this issue, you are not going forward. But then, on the facts, if the facts are like this, ordinarily, these and these and these and these, you cannot give your word and then resile and say you are not going. What the Supreme Court should have done is, look, yes, that is the minority decision now. In the event, that's called obiter. It's not binding on anybody, but it's instructive in future recurrences that in this situation, I mean, it's unfortunate we have to rule the way we did, but when a situation like this arises, oh, there shouldn't have been a rerun, there shouldn't have been that, there shouldn't have been that. So that whenever those facts recur, the court that will handle it will say, well, it was an obiter dicta, but because it's an obiter of the Supreme Court, it's not binding on us, but it is persuasive. And we don't need to start thinking all over again to wriggle out of that situation. And then it will be so easy. But now, our jurisprudence is no better. But the decision has been taken. It's now conclusive. Inconclusive is conclusive. Now.
Final.
Yes, final.
But the question...
The facts of the matter don't even come into play.
The substance, the decision was not based on the substance, but on the technical issue, a procedural flaw in the proceedings before the originating court.
Oh dear.
And so after doing that, I mean, it couldn't have gone otherwise. I can't fault the Supreme Court on that. But the substance of the case was not gone into the merits of the case.
Yes.
And that's where some people will go home and still be smarting. Oh, why? Oh, it was not, something was wrong and all that.
Yes.
You know?
But can the Supreme Court go back again to look at that obiter?
Oh, the Supreme, if the facts ever, not in this case.
Not in this
But
case.
if there's another case with similar facts, the Supreme Court can then go back and look at the substance of that case and say, oh, INEC should have done this, INEC should not have done that, INEC should have done that. But if that had been included in the decision, now the majority decision, would probably, I mean, then it would be a binding authority or a persuasive authority for the coming court.
Okay, Mr. Showme, now that the legal side of things have been done away with, what should Osun State be looking at in terms of governance, in terms of internally generated revenue, in terms of making the state, moving the state to the point where, because the governor says, join me to move the state forward?
I congratulate Governor Oyetola, and I sympathize with Senator Adeleke based on the fact that for me, the Supreme Court has not finally resolved that issue, because the issue is not about technicality, it's about justice. And some people will be left feeling that, look, justice wasn't done. The other party will say, yeah, we won. But the bottom line at the end of the day is this. Whose fault? Adeleke's fault? Oyetola's fault? No, both of them were not at fault. What if the panel, if jurists are fully aware that they should have signed documents and they didn't sign it, and it created a situation like this where the courts were not even able to examine the facts of a case? What should happen? Because the other hand of it is the panel. Nobody's talking about it. Does it mean that in future, all you need to do is don't sign if one of the juries fail to sign, and then the case will now become, the panel will become incoherent, technically, and the whole thing will be messed up. So that is why I feel sorry for Oyetola, because it's not his fault. Also both of them.
Okay.
Both of them, including Adeleke, because it's also not Adeleke's fault, but nobody is talking about what should happen to the third party, which is the panel itself. Now, on governance, to move Osun State forward, I again feel sorry for Governor Oyetola. He has no choice but to call for all hands to join him in moving the state forward. If you go to Osun today, most of the industries have collapsed, not due to anybody's fault, but that is how the economy worked out. Osogbo steel mill is no longer functional. So the economy is largely based on agriculture. And unfortunately, the whole of Ilesha is sitting on gold, which is not being tapped currently, but you have the illegal miners, working very hard, to tap it. So it's time to look at agriculture. How do you create cottage industries, around agriculture, small, medium enterprises? Then you have the roads. The roads in Osun State are major problems. Oyetola needs to look at federal government, how to mobilize the federal government to reconstruct, the Ibadan to Ife Junction Road, Ife to Ilesha Road. Those are major roads, creating a hell for people. People have been able to take advantage of that. Some Nigerians have taken advantage of that to perpetrate crimes. For instance, you have the issue of the herdsmen. In Osun today, a friend of mine who owns a major hotel, one of the biggest, if not the biggest in Osun State, told me just a week ago that the economy is, business is collapsing. And I asked him why with so much, you spent close to over 800 million on the place. And he told me that, look, all the events, all that he has, people would now have party by 3 o'clock. They're going home afraid of being kidnapped. And even though he has provided security in his halls and hotels, but the issue is that once they leave the place, what happened? That people are being... So there's a general atmosphere of feeling of insecurity, which needs to be dealt with. And there's nothing more important, you know, to government than to provide security for people. He needs to look into that. Governor Yetola also needs to look at, you know, the educational institutions. If you go through recent records, you realize that Osun State has witnessed more students unrest, you know, students boycott of classes, closure of schools, including the civil service. The same situation. They've been on strike longer than any other in the whole country. So I don't really envy Governor Yetola. He needs to look at all this. How do you build industrial harmony, you know, in a way that would allow for growth of the economy? Don't forget, when workers are on strike, the IGR, the little IGR you're expecting will not come in. And also when students are on strike, you send them home. Many of them are from different places. So it deprives the local economy where those schools are located, you know, the opportunity, you know, to benefit from the presence of those students, you know. And all this impacts on the economy of the state. Roads need to be critically looked into because it's a major factor. It can be a proxy for the development of the entire Osun State economy.
So are you not piling on too much?
It has a lot to do. Look, you need to go to the state. Look, I really feel sorry for whoever would govern Osun State.
Is that
No,
no, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. I'm from Ogun State.
Okay.
Yeah. But when you look at the scale of what needs to be done to rebuild the state, you know, it's a lot. Yes, Aregbe was there. He did his own bit in terms of trying to develop the infrastructure and all that. But Osun does not have the money. That is the major problem. The agriculture needs to be focused on, you know, strictly, so that if you can help farmers, you know, to grow crops, go into livestock production, go into poultry production, more than what has been done, then we might eventually have a local economy that can not only supply food, you know, to Lagos and other parts of the country, but also generate revenue, you know, for the state. The state currently is only depending on federal allocation, which is quite unfortunate.
How plausible is that, you know, investing in agriculture and encouraging agriculture in light of killer headsmen?
Well, the killer headsmen issue is a major security issue, just like kidnapping. Unfortunately, we are yet to have a robust response from Southwest governors. But at the end of the day, the impact of headsmen activities, you know, in Osun State is devastating. And I'm sure the governor would have to take this up with the security goons and also with the presidency, because the economy, the state is already paralyzed economically. So the moment you now have ex-men terrorizing the whole place, they're already faced with serious problem of kidnapping, then what happens is the state will collapse. Okay. Nobody wants that. And therefore, the federal government needs to rein in, you know, the security services and encourage them to do what they have to do. That is, you know, apprehend criminals. And that will solve the problem.
Okay, Mr. Lady,
yeah.
I asked a question to Mr. Shomi about piling it on. He says, yeah, there has to be, because that's what needs to be done. Do we really have to pile on that much? Agriculture. But he mentioned something earlier about mining. A whole community sitting on gold, illegal mining going on and all of that. Is there another way to generate revenue without putting pressure on the people, just so that you can do your job?
Well, you see, that's a very wonderful point about illegal mining activities going on in Osun State and in so many others, even up north. It came to light that all these so-called killer herdsmen, kidnappings, they were engendered by activities of people who are actually in those places to mine, Zamfara, Taraba, and all those places, because they have solid minerals down there that these people are in, that they are really working hard to mine, to the knowledge of our security men. Now, something that ordinarily should bring
Wouldn't you,
goodies.
Should that be an allegation to the knowledge of the security men? Alleged knowledge.
Well, when you see the picture of the commissioner of police of a state standing where mining activities are going on, apprehending people and all that, it meant that they had always been aware of the fact that these mining activities were going on. Now, after all those arrests were made, what has happened? Have we heard of anybody being convicted? Now, these gold and other mineral resources, by law, you see, and that's the problem with having a unitary state being called a federal nation. This is not a federation. Security is in the hands of the federal government, virtually. Mining is supposed to be handled by federal government. If I discover gold in my backyard, I can't touch it. The governor of Osun State is supposed to control land by the Land Use Act. Is the custodian of all land in his state. But that's just land that you can see. Once there's something below the surface, it belongs to the federation. So now he has gold. That state is supposed to be a very rich state.
One of the richest.
One of the richest, but it's poor because of the law we have. We're running a unitary system of government instead of a federal system of government. So yes, you can pile it on. But the first major step, fortunately, the federal houses are under the control of a party. The executive is under the control of a party. The governor of Osun State, as well as other states, they belong to a party. The point I want to make is, politics has to move from subsistence level. It has to move from the Amala politics, like Adedibu used to say, where it's just chop by chop. You just come in, you want to be governor, you get allocation from the federation, you share, you pay salaries, you keep the rest as security votes. The time has come for state governors, particularly from the western part of Nigeria, to sit down with the people at the center, the legislators from their states. We have to begin to make amends. We have to begin to introduce bills at the federal level to say, look, we can't continue like this. We cannot have gold in Ilesha and then be going cap in hand to beg for money that was gotten from oil in Port Harcourt. It's just not right. So first of all, there has to be law reform. If we are federating, let us be federating. If we are unitary, let us declare this country to be a unitary state where states can... All the roads, they say, oh, these roads from Ilesha to Ado-Ekiti, from Ibadan, they are federal roads. There is no federal presence on those roads. I have applied those roads. I go there regularly for election matters in Ado-Ekiti. And you need to see the state of the road between Ife and Ilesha. It is horrible. On Friday, on my way coming, we were faced by a truck. And we had to move into the bush. It could have killed me. I wouldn't be here today. Because the road was bad. My own part of the road was very good. He left his own side of the road and he faced us. And I was, no, we're not leaving the road. Well, I don't know, let's leave the road now. So you have a situation where the roads are bad. Federal presence is not there. Federal government has no time for those roads.
Hold it there.
Yes.
We'll just go on a quick break and come back to continue the conversation. Please join us again. Welcome back. Mr. Lady, you were talking about the need for looking at the laws again.
Yes. Yeah, because it's my constituency. A lot of things are going on, and you see, when it is convenient for the center, they say, oh, well, we cannot do that. But when there are certain things that come up, you start hearing of executive orders. I wonder why executive orders cannot be used to, repair roads, get monies out. For instance, money was meant to be disbursed for getting lands for this grazing program and all that.
Ruga?
Ruga, yes. Is it Ruga or Ruga or whatever? Now, until it was Rugalized. Now, money would have come out for that. But there are situations where we have such terrible roads here and there. And you start hearing that, that's federal road. When it is convenient, then they say, no, it's not federal. And they say, oh, we used our money to repair the road, but the federal government has not paid us. There is no state, except one or two, maybe Lagos, Rivers, There is virtually no state in this country that we can actually say is economically viable. Why? Because every asset that is within every state is under the control of the federal government.
No, but the question is, are there no governors? Are the governors not, and let me not say, are they not thinking? They are thinking.
Yeah.
But is it that their thinking is not looking at how to make the most of what they have? Or are there constraints that the rest of the world is not seeing?
They are constrained by party.
National Assembly.
Yes, they are constrained by party affiliation. And what I'm saying that enough of that. We have to move on. You see, we've practiced democracy for 20 years.
Yes.
The reality on ground, if the governor of Osun State wants to succeed, it takes very little to make Nigerians love you. Our needs are very few. So long as we can move around, we can party, our children can attend schools, medical facilities.
Give us water.
Just give us, we will hail you forever. If the man wants to be populist, all he has to do is to cater to, like Mr. Showumi said, you have farmers who have spent a whole year cultivating. And then when they harvest their thing, they cannot even evacuate them and get, recompense for all the labor for 1 year, hard labor. Because when you pass through those agrarian states, you see all these farmers putting their wares by the roadside. Because they cannot even store them, no proper storage. So they have to sell off immediately. And those of us who are coming back to Lagos, we just buy, we get a good deal. So we are buying something that we'll buy for 5,000 in Lagos, we'll buy it for 700 naira. Plantain. And you look at it, and I pity them. One day I was passing through Ife to Ibadan, and they brought bushmeat. Well, solid bushmeat, guinea pig, the real one. And I kept on pricing at a point I became ashamed. From 7,500, 5,000, 4,000. I said 3,500. She begged them. I said, okay, I'm not buying. And I moved, and she threw the bushmeat inside the car at me. Okay, go away. We were moving. Any other person would go away with it. So I told the driver, stop. This woman is desperate. So I said, why did you throw it at me? She said, if you like, carry it away. So I gave her 4,000 instead of 3,500. You can see the desperation. Because taking that meat back home, it will go to waste. They can't even eat the meat. So the governor needs to cater to the immediate needs of these people who are toiling day and night to make ends meet.
Immediate needs.
Yes.
How would he do that?
Now, for instance,
does he need to buy up the goods from them and do what with it?
In the U.S., for instance, we have, when they produce wheat, government has a way of buying this off the farmers. They buy a lot of products of them, of course, because they have storage facilities. Now, agrarian states must start thinking like that. You set up storage facilities, buy these things, processing, whatever. Buy it off these people so that they don't continue producing and throwing them back on the farm to waste. When you buy it off them, there's a way it moves around. And so, you see, we have to start thinking. The governors, we don't just contest to win elections and then start thinking of how to rule.
Most of these things he's talking about, to my mind, are things that cannot be changed because the governor wants them changed. They're in the Constitution. So we need our lawmakers in Abuja to help us. And they're all from these states we're talking about who are going through these hard times. How hard is it for them to actually discuss these things and find a way of amending the Constitution so that each state can begin to fend for itself instead of being so dependent and beggarly?
Yeah, when you actually look at the case of Osun State, which is an agrarian state, it's such a pity that people are not getting richer or taking advantage of proximity to Lagos, for instance, where people can afford, there seems to be better well off, than in Osun. The simple reason is also because of road infrastructure. Road is critical, it can act as a proxy for the development of other sectors of the economy. If the cost of moving goods from the farms to major centers, becomes so prohibitive, then the goods will become so expensive, and as a result, people will not buy them. They will not make the kind of money they should make. And that is why you see them by the roadside trying to sell, desperately, at least to get something for a living. And that in itself is killing agriculture. So we are not thinking about, even if you want to build, small-scale industries, around the farming communities, what about the roads? You need good motorable roads. So the government at least can fix roads. That is one thing they can do.
Public-private partnership to fix the roads, because the government might not have enough funds to do the roads. So what about, would that work in?
Absolutely. Those are part of the things government can think about. I would not advocate for tolling roads in Osun State, because that will not work. They do not, one, the government does not have the money to construct the roads. Two, people can afford to pay. That would be a tragedy. So what needs to be done, like my colleague said, is to look at the Constitution. You cannot create a constitution that is suffocating economies. Yeah. And what we have currently is prohibiting the government of Osun to tap the resources of Osun State. The whole of Ilesha is sitting on gold. Osun State should be one of the richest states in Nigeria. And why should that state be brought to his knees? That should be totally unacceptable to anybody. So the lawmakers in Abuja themselves, representing the state of Osun, need to amplify the concerns of the people of Osun State, and of the fact that opportunities for growing industries around the gold, it's not been taken simply because of the law. If you look at gold currently, the value of gold is increasing in the international market due to the international trade conflict between Russia, China, and the United States on one part. So therefore, it's a good opportunity, to attract foreign direct investment and build viable industries around it. If we don't restructure our country, if we don't look at what the federal government is doing, we will continue to kill the economy. There are no federal citizens anywhere in Nigeria. What you have is state residents or state indigents. Therefore, federal government has no business, on roads. They should devolve it straight to the states and devolve the budget with it to the states. Okay,
but Mr. Lede, what about some states? You talked about there are hardly any states that are economically viable.
Yeah.
But you find out that some governors come in there and they are renovating government house. They are building big infrastructure within the state, within the state capital, but the rural areas are not being developed. So if you were to advise governors now, using Osun as a case in point, what would you advise to develop the rural areas? Leave out, as someone said there, who was it that tweeted, Festus Akinbuewa says, state governors must develop their rural roads, enough of elephant projects.
Yes.
So what would you advise?
Whether it's white, black, or blue elephant. Elephant project. Yes. You see, visibility is politics. A lot of these governors come in and they want to put in place a signature project that, that's my legacy, concrete. They're not talking about, let's look at Western Nigeria. Education used to be like our mainstay. We were ahead of everybody. But today, Osun, Ogun, Osun and Ogun states, they used to have brilliant people. When the West Africans, when they announced the results, see them ahead of everybody else. The educational sector has crumbled. It's just not, and it must impact the economy. The governors come in, they are not interested. They don't believe that because it's not something that is so visible. They don't want to come in and say, look at the results. That's one thing. During Aregbesola regime, Osun State came up. The results were better. That's in academics for the school students. Now, when you tell the average Nigerian politician that, look, leave all these white elephant projects, it's like, to them, you want to kill me. In Osun State, for instance, they have a brewery. I think the
International Brewery.
International Brewery.
Ilesha.
Trophy. You see? It's selling, maybe I should not say that here. Now, you have an agrarian community.
You've said it already.
For you. I hope I don't have to pay for it. You have an agrarian community. You have such a major brewery there. Now, there's a particular ingredient material that is needed in that place, where do they source it from? Is it not possible to grow those things in that particular state, around that, the community around it? A governor who is proactive ought to look at that, sit down with the people, the owners, that look, why don't we source for these materials from this place? But no, they would rather renovate the state houses, state house of assembly, change furniture. Every time people move, you see a governor moving away with everything, the cars, everything. The governor comes in and buys all these things over and over again, billions. Now, some of these billions can actually transform any particular sector in any given economy. But they won't do that. We can only say that, I mean, they will tell you, when you get there, you see how difficult it is. The governor in Osun State now, I'm sure, when having gotten there now, he had seen that it's not a child's play. It's something very difficult. I see them, at times you look at their faces and you see how miserable our governors look. I'm telling you, I don't envy them. So we can sit here and pontificate and say, oh, white elephant projects, blue elephant projects, you should have done this, you should do that. When they want to do it, you see, you have godfathers who will tell them, that's not the best thing. You are going for a second term. You need to be visible. You need to do this. So it's a chain thing. There's always a chain reaction. When you get there, you have to listen to some people, and the people you are listening to, that may not be the most important project they want.
Okay, Mr. Shomi, first, again, Olatunji Okpe says it's not compulsory for any state to spend money they don't have on agriculture and agro-allied industries. We're rounding up now. Osun State needs to have a development strategy, which I'm not sure it has. He says he's not sure. Local and international investors and businesses can help. Festus says governors in every region should work in partnership to develop their region. There's no reason why they cannot work together to build integrated railway system. In closing.
Yes, he's correct. But the bottom line, the major problem for Osun currently is not rail, is rural roads. They need to construct the rural roads in a way that will facilitate, the evacuation of goods from the farms, to urban centers, for people to sell. The other major issue, for the state is the federal roads that needs to be constructed. They need to reconstruct those roads, and it's quite very urgent, and they are vital for rebuilding Osun's economy. And finally, one of the things which the government can do is also to look at the ease of doing business, in the state. Part of the ease of doing business is also the road infrastructure. So they need to look at, the bureaucracy, how to cut down on bureaucracy and make the state attractive, to foreign direct investors, including local investors too.
So really?
Yes. Well, in closing, I will just add a bit to what Mr. Shomi had said, that, you see, you have to make Osun State very attractive to people. I mean, not necessarily indigents of the state, people who are close by, Ibadan and all those places, let them come in and put their monies where their mouths are. Before you can start talking about foreign direct investment, the local people must be able to showcase that, look, I've been there, the state is viable, but basically, I think as a governor, the governor needs to reach out to the legislators from Osun State so that they can work together with their colleagues at the National Assembly and see how we can begin to restructure this country such that, the states can be in control of their economies.
Thank you very much. So John Oloyede is a legal practitioner and Biodun Shomi, a social commentator. Thank you, gentlemen.
It's my pleasure.
So as we'll be back in a moment, please join us again.